Good morning, everyone, and welcome. Thank you for joining us this morning. I'm pleased to host this event today at one of our Toronto Paramedic Services ambulance stations, and would like to welcome our guests, the Honorable Rod Phillips, Ontario Minister of Long-Term Care, His Worship, Mayor John Tory, and all of our distinguished guests. I would like to begin by acknowledging the land we are meeting on is the traditional territory of many nations, including the Mississaugas of the Credit, the Anishinaabe, the Chippewa, the Haudenosaunee, and the Wendat peoples, and is now home to many diverse First Nations, Inuit, and Métis people. We also acknowledge that Toronto is covered by Treaty 13 with the Mississaugas of the Credit. Now it is my pleasure to introduce the Honorable Rod Phillips, Ontario Minister of Long-Term Care.
Chief Raftis, thanks very much for the introduction. Thank you also to the team. I had a chance to meet some of your colleagues here from the Toronto Paramedic Service, and certainly from the entire Ontario government and the Premier. Thank you to you, and thank you to your whole team for all the work that you do every day to keep people in Toronto safe and healthy. It's a real pleasure to be here. I'd also like to thank Mayor Tory, not just for his support in the area of long-term care, but also for his leadership of the City of Toronto during the challenging times of the pandemic. It's just been a pleasure to get a chance to work with a partner like John Tory. And also I see Brad Bradford's here, Councillor Bradford from Beaches East York, a good friend. As well, I've got two of my dear colleagues representing Scarborough Agincourt at East Babikian, the MPP, and VG Thekamuson, the MPP for Scarborough Rouge Park, is also with us today. I'm very pleased to announce today the expansion of the Community Paramedicine Program for Long-Term Care. After decades of neglect, our government has a plan and is executing on a plan to fix the long-term care system. We're acting on the advice that was received from the Long-Term Care Commission, from various reports, from the Auditor General, and most importantly from those individuals and citizens in Ontario and in Toronto who had frontline experience with the long-term care system. We have a plan that will fix long-term care and make sure that Ontario's system is one of the best in Canada. The plan has three pillars: staffing and care, accountability, enforcement, and transparency, and ensuring that we're building comfortable, safe, modern homes for our seniors. Today I'm here to talk about improving care for seniors who need additional support before they have access to the long-term care system. Now, between 2015 and 2019, the waiting list for long-term care beds increased by 11,000. In 2020, our government launched the Community Paramedicine Long-Term Care Pilot Program to help seniors live safely and comfortable in their homes while they were waiting for access to long-term care. This program leverages the skills of local paramedics like the ones here today to provide emergency support for seniors, such as home visits and remote monitoring 24 hours a day, 7 days a week. Those paramedics work with home and community care providers who deliver personal support services and are the foundation of our supports for seniors living at home. The program was launched in 2020 with 5 communities and was quickly expanded to include 28 other communities, one of which was Toronto. Now, Chief Raftis, I've been so pleased talking to your team here to hear about how they've been helping seniors right here in Toronto. 6,400 home visits to support seniors in need, and I know that every one of those visits was supporting an individual or a family who needed support. That's why today I'm pleased to announce that we will be providing an additional $82 million over the next 3 years to expand the program to an additional 22 communities, now making community paramedicine for long-term care available across Ontario. In total, we've committed $250 million to this program over the next 3.5 years. And today's program expansion includes many nearby communities like Durham and Peterborough, but also many northern and Indigenous communities. This will allow seniors in every corner of our province to have the kind of support and assistance they need while waiting for long-term care beds. It also provides peace of mind for their families and for those around them. Now, I have had the opportunity to talk to paramedics today, as well as at other opportunities. I've had a chance to do a few ride-alongs and see the benefits of the program. More importantly, I've had a chance to talk to the seniors and talk about the difference that it makes. In just 3 months, 23,000 hours of care and service were provided to almost 8,000 seniors across the province. That includes 15,000 home visits and 16,000 virtual visits, which have been particularly important during the pandemic. Now, these numbers will, of course, grow as the program expands, and this is just one part of our plan to fix long-term care, particularly focusing on staffing and care. As I've said before, we've committed $4.9 billion over 4 years to help train and hire more than 27,000 new personal support workers, registered practical nurses, and registered nurses. I recently announced an additional $270 million that begins next month that will help hire over 4,000 registered practical nurses, registered nurses, and PSWs just this year. This is all about delivering on our commitment to make sure that seniors in Ontario get an average of 4 hours of care per day, and that will put Ontario at the top in Ontario, where it should be. Now, for example, and this is just an example in Toronto, but recently I visited Kipling Acres, which is one of the many homes run by the city and run very well by the City of Toronto. This year, they'll receive an additional $1.2 million for frontline staff, and that'll rise to $7.3 million by 2024. To put that in terms of staff and care, which is what this is about, that will mean 13 more registered nurses, 24 more registered practical nurses, and 53 personal support workers, just for that home alone. And that's great news for the people at Kipling Acres, but that's also just great news for the not just residents, but also staff across the province. We've also invested $2.68 billion to build and upgrade long-term care homes across the province, and this will help us reach our goal of 30,000 net new beds by 2028. Now, to further support that goal, on Wednesday, we invited everyone interested in building and redeveloping long-term care homes to submit new proposals as soon as possible. Again, that will build on the 20,000 new beds and 15,000 beds we've committed to and help us reach that 30,000 person target. Through these actions, through the actions today, through the work of the paramedics behind me and across the province, through the work of the PSWs and the nurses and the administrators and the cooks and everyone in the long-term care system, through that work and through the leadership of people like the people behind me and the many, many thousands of Ontarians who work in the long-term care system, we have a plan and we are going to fix the long-term care system. And today's announcement about the expansion of community paramedicine to the rest of the province is part of that plan. And with that, I'd like to turn the podium over to, as I said, one of the people who's been a leader in terms of providing that support. I'm just going to do a little shout out about something as well that the City of Toronto has done. I talked about the redevelopment of homes. An important part of our building of new homes are not-for-profit homes, particularly those that support the many, many multicultural communities across our province. And the City of Toronto and the Mayor and his council have taken a leadership role through their policies around development charges to make it easier for not-for-profit homes to expand and build as we build this historic number of homes. So for that and for his support of the Community Paramedicine Program, it's my pleasure to thank John Tory and to welcome to the podium.
Well, Minister, thank you, and good morning to one and all. I'm very pleased to be here with Minister Rod Phillips, and before I talk about this program that's being expanded across the province, and it's a terrific program, and it's going to be of great benefit to the new communities that are joining it as of today's announcement, I want to thank the Minister for something else. When he was Finance Minister, he made it possible for cities, including Toronto, municipalities, to introduce a special tax class for small businesses, which allows us to help them to create jobs, to keep jobs, to, especially after the pandemic, to help stabilize themselves. And Toronto is moving ahead with that in 2022. We announced it a couple of days ago, and I thanked the minister at that time. He was then the finance minister, and his successor, Peter Bethlenfalvy, has carried through with that legislation and the commitment to help with education taxes. And I just want to say to the minister and to his government, this is going to be a big help to small business in Toronto as it's implemented in 2022, and I want to thank him for that. I also, just before I talk about this program briefly, want to say thank you to our paramedics team. This is a relatively unsung group of women and men who show great courage. If you think about the tasks they had to perform during the pandemic, let alone before and after the pandemic, it took great courage. Of course, it takes great professionalism and skill for them to do what they do every single day. And I think they're sometimes less recognized than some of our other first responders. They all do a great job for us, but the paramedics, our EMS people in particular, under the leadership of Chief Raftus, do a superb job day in and day out, sometimes in really extraordinary circumstances and facing really extraordinary challenges, and the professionalism that they display, to me, is something that is for us to be very, very proud of in this city. I welcome Aris Babikian and Vijay Thanigalasam, both MPPs who represent Toronto with great vigor, and of course my colleague, Councillor Brad Bradford, who I know joins me in saying thanks to the Minister for the Small Business Tax Credit. He's been a great champion for small business, but so too has he been a champion for seniors. And I just can't tell you, as somebody now in a municipality that has been a part of this program for a year, how big a difference it is going to make for other cities like ours. We have proof now that this program is a success and that it works. It supports clients through home visits so that you can have a smaller vehicle with one person, a highly skilled professional of course, go to see a senior that is in need of some kind of care, so that you can care for them first and foremost and provide the care they need, but also so that you don't have to send necessarily, sometimes, often on an unplanned basis, a full EMS ambulance vehicle on a 911 call with 2 or more paramedics. And so it provides for better care, more kind of one-on-one care, and allows us to operate this system in a way that can respond to everybody better, just because we're more appropriately deploying the resources. I know this government has been prioritizing long-term care spaces. That's important and long overdue provincial work. But this program helps seniors who are in need of long-term care, who may not be just quite there yet in terms of being able to go or being in need of going to long-term care, to stay at home, but to make sure they get looked after. It keeps them healthier. I think it takes a great deal off the minds of their relatives and loved ones, that they know that this kind of care is available for their loved ones. And the past 20 months have demonstrated the need for that care and how much of a role that it plays, and the importance of protecting and supporting our seniors. We have received the first of $3 million installments, as it were, from the province to pay for this new community paramedicine program. It's not new now because we've been at it for some time now, but it has played a significant role, not just in general levels of care over time, but specifically in the care that we've been able to provide to seniors during the pandemic. It allowed us to focus, for example, on vaccinating eligible seniors who are awaiting long-term care and couldn't necessarily get to one of our clinics as easily, or get to see their doctor. The numbers speak for themselves. 6,401 home visits made, supporting 3,727 individual residents with vaccinations and other supports. And the program is helping us now to administer the booster shots that some of our elderly citizens are getting. And we, of course, want to do even more in that regard. Also, things happen beyond the pandemic that will continue to happen once the pandemic is put behind us. Home visits from community paramedics to provide in-depth health assessments, which are needed and allow us to, when appropriate, perform necessary interventions to help people to age safely at home. And this is something that I know is a high priority for a lot of seniors who want to stay at home, for a lot of their relatives who want them to stay at home, because everybody's happier in their own home, but who need sometimes a little bit of extra care and support, and just people checking in on them. The home visits take about 45 to 90 minutes each, depending on the nature of the visit, and they can happen either on a routine basis or in response to real-time requests that come from seniors or from their families, or sometimes even from their healthcare providers. This kind of visit, sponsored by this provincially funded program, delivered by our EMS, that I said earlier do such a great job for us, can reduce the use of 911 and all that goes with that by up to 50%. Community paramedics involve a single responder as opposed to 2 paramedics that go in a 911 dispatched ambulance, so that you can see how this helps us to do better. It means there are more resources available for more people, more seniors, and of course, given the fact, and this is just a comment on the facts as they are, and they won't surprise you, given the fact that seniors 65 plus represent almost half of our 911 EMS calls, you can see how this provincial program is helping to provide better care for the people who need help. Toronto's community paramedicine team is also developing a chronic disease management program, so that those who are ill on a chronic basis and need care on a continuous basis will also be able to fit in and remain at home and receive this kind of care from our paramedics. It is so important. We are so committed, working with the province, to make sure that our seniors, the people that have done so much for us, can remain in their homes, but at the same time to get the proper care and support that they need on as efficient a basis as possible, because it is necessary as well, of course, for us to make sure that we do these things as governments as efficiently as we can. By focusing on those who are on the wait list for a long-term care space, we are supporting one of the most vulnerable groups of people in our city. So while they wait for the long-term care that the Minister is committing to increasing the supply of, we can, working together, our EMS, working with this provincial program, make sure that these people are better looked after. And this is a shared goal we have with this government, and it is one that we're carrying out with them in partnership. So I want to thank Minister Phillips and the Government of Ontario for this funding for this program that we have been a part of for some time now, and to say to those out there who are watching in other cities soon to become a part of this program, this is very good news. This is going to be good for your seniors. This is going to be good for better care for people. This is going to be good to keep people in their homes. This is going to be good to look after people with chronic illnesses. And it is going to be good in terms of efficient government, which is part as well of providing compassionate care. The more efficient we are of it, the better we can do it for more people. Minister Phillips, I know, sees the value in this program as demonstrated by the expansion of the program across the province. It's the right thing to do. And it is yet one more example of something that you hear me talk about all the time, namely that cooperation and partnership between governments working together on behalf of the people we all serve. It's all the same people we serve, and the money all comes from the same place. This is a good thing that can deliver good things for the people that we serve. Thank you very much.
I guess we'll ask if there are any questions. And if not, we will thank you very much for your attendance today. Thanks again to the Mayor and to the members of Council, to my colleagues, but most importantly, Chief, to you and your team for your support of this program. Thank you very much, everybody.